What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Raptor Report. It's time to talk about the Toronto Raptors. And just as I was mentioning in yesterday's video, where the Raptors could look to make a move or two, it seems like they have made a move. They have created one open roster spot by waiving someone. I'm going to be discussing that in today's video. I'm also going to be talking about what the Raptors could look to add, what kind of player they could look to add with that one roster spot open. What could this mean for the Pascal Siakam trade rumors as well? So if you're ready to watch this video, guys, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you wish to hit the subscribe button as well, that'd be very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, as you guys know, I do like to give out shout outs on my channel, and the shout out for today's video goes out to Renan. So Renan, thank you so much for supporting this channel. To your likes and comments, it is very much appreciated. Now let's talk about that player that was waived by the Toronto Raptors. And shout out to Raptors Update on Instagram that was reporting the Toronto Raptors have waived Joe Wieskamp. His deal was set to become guaranteed tomorrow. Raptors have one open NBA roster spot, minimum contracts available to offer $3.96 million in breathing room below the tax. Now, this is a move that many fans saw coming from far, far away. I mentioned that in yesterday's video as well when talking about what are some of the moves that the Raptors could look to make. Joe Wieskamp obviously struggled in the summer league, and it just wasn't a great summer league. But ultimately, I mean, obviously the Raptors clearly need three-point shooting, but it just seemed like Joe wasn't going to be that guy. And long-term, just speaking, it didn't make sense for the money you were paying him to have him on the roster, considering, his production as well. But taking a look at his summer league statistics there, you'll see that he really struggled. Besides the last game where he went off to score 20 plus points, hit a lot of three-pointers, you can see that although he averaged 13.5 points, his field goal percentage, 42.9, is decent, but his three-point percentage, which is his specialty, was not great. On 5.5 attempts, he shot 27.3% from the three-point line. And again, you could argue this is, his percentages were bumped up because his last game, he did make a lot of threes as well. Now, I know people are going to mention Grady Dick as well. Completely different situation. Grady Dick is coming to the NBA for the first time. And, obviously he's nervous as well. But Joe Wieskamp just wasn't someone that was going to stick with the Raptors long term. Even when you take a look at his statistics with the Toronto Raptors here, you'll notice that he really struggled. And this is something I constantly state when I talk about there's a reason why I'm a YouTuber, and even fans are fans for a reason, and why we have head coaches and managers and those specific people in those positions. We had a lot of fans complaining last season about why Joe wasn't getting minutes when we needed three-point shooting. And now you see why. He just struggled in the summer league. But even with his season that he had with the Toronto Raptors, he performed very, very poorly. Like taking a look at the statistics here, you'll see that he in 9 games, although he played very limited minutes, and a lot of people were saying, Nick Nurse is not playing the guy that we should be. In 5.6 minutes a game, his field goal percentage was downright terrible, 21.4%, and his three-point shot, again, just was not seeming to fall there, 25% as well. Now, I know, again, you could blame that on inconsistent playing time as well, but in his last few games of the season, he did get some playing time, and it just seemed like he got some very wide open looks. And I'm not saying an NBA player's career should be defined by one game at all, but it just seemed like he was hitting nowhere close to the rim, and he was really struggling to hit some of those open shots. And also just 1 point per game in the NBA, even for an end of the bench guy, is just not very productive at all, especially when three-point shooting is your specialty and is one of your main assets that you're able to help a team win, and you're not able to do that at an efficient level as well. This should come as to no surprise to a lot of fans that Joe Wieskamp is no longer on the Toronto Raptors. But let's take a look at the Toronto Raptors roster here. Let's take a look at some of the positions they could potentially look out to fill and what their needs are with that one open roster spot. Now, taking a look at the Toronto Raptors roster, of course, Joe Wieskamp is no longer on the roster, and I already hear a lot of fans saying maybe we convert Marquise Noel's contract to a guaranteed contract. We know he's on a two-way contract there, or maybe we sign someone like a Jeff Doughton. I'll get to those concerns in just a moment, but I quickly want to take a look here. Like, obviously the Raptors have an abundance of forwards, power forwards. Like, you have forwards in Pascal, Precious, OG Scotty, Otto, Chris, Thaddeus Young. Christian Coloco's a center as well. You got Jakob Poeltl center, Jalen McDaniels center, and then you got a couple of point guards in Dennis Schroeder. And yes, that's how you pronounce his last name. I did see his vlog which he made about joining the Raptors as well, so that's how it's actually pronounced. So Dennis, obviously being our main point guard there, and then you got depending on how many minutes and what the Raptors see in his future in Malachi Flynn, and maybe you see Marquise Noel get some minutes as well. But clearly the Raptors need a backup guard. They also just don't have enough shooting in Dennis Schroeder. Dennis needs, obviously, he's a decent three-point shooter, not a great one. Doesn't shoot a high volume of threes and doesn't hit them at a high clip either. So maybe the Raptors look to fill out the guard position, the point guard position, and get someone who can shoot three-point ball, because Malachi Flynn, we know he can hit his threes. He just didn't get playing time. Marquise Noel, although he can hit his threes as well, we don't know how it's going to look at the NBA level as well. So again, you're essentially going into the next NBA season with a not lot of guard position, but also not a lot of guards that can hit the three-point ball as well. And I think that is a position the Raptors could look to fill. But I do want to talk about Pascal Siakam as well. Could this mean that the Toronto Raptors are looking to make a move and maybe have multiple players coming back for a Pascal Siakam trade? Let's discuss that as well. Now, we know Pascal Siakam rumors have been absolutely wild this offseason. He has constantly been linked to a team like the Atlanta Hawks. And we know there's obviously, if you're trading for Pascal Siakam, who's making approximately around $38 million, you're obviously going to have to include multiple players to make the salaries work as well. So maybe just maybe the Raptors could be doing that for that reason. But I think realistically speaking, this was probably a move to go right below the luxury tax. If the Raptors did go past the luxury tax, it makes it a little bit challenging. It makes it very challenging to really, make trades happen, make moves happen as well. So I think it was to save money, but it could also be interesting moving forward, seeing what the Raptors could do with Pascal Siakam. Maybe some sort of deal is going to happen sooner rather than later as well. But I do want to, before we end this video off, I do want to quickly talk about Jeff Doughton as well as Marquise Noel. I know people will be talking about maybe we should convert Marquise Noel to a guaranteed contract rather than a two-way contract. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. And this doesn't have anything to do with his summer league performance. I thought he played well for the most part. Yes, he had, one or two games where he struggled at times, but I think they're going to see what they have with Marquise Noel at the NBA level and see, moving forward, what they can do with him. But in terms of Jeff Doughton, this is going to be interesting because we're talking about Dennis, here being someone that can provide good quality minutes, but isn't someone that can shoot the three-point ball exceptionally. Now you got Jeff Doughton. If you do bring him on, he's going to be another point guard that doesn't shoot the three-point ball exceptionally well. So then you have a team like the Toronto Raptors that are desperate need of three-point shooting, yet they're two guards. If they do bring in Jeff Doughton in, which I wouldn't be against, by the way. I would not be against, bringing in Jeff Doughton. I think he's a really smart player. But then you have 2 point guards who aren't high-volume three-point shooters. So now all of a sudden, you got Scotty Barnes, Pascal, Jakob, who don't shoot the three-point ball. Jakob doesn't shoot the three-point ball at all. But you got Pascal, Scotty, who don't shoot the three-point ball exceptionally well. And then they're going to have 2 point guards that aren't going to be great three-point shooters as well. So maybe you've got a question. I would love Jeff Doughton. Masai did say that he would bring in Jeff Doughton. He's with the Raptors moving forward. I think realistically speaking, it could be, Jeff Doughton could be on a 2-way contract. And we do have to note that, now with the new NBA rules, you're allowed 3 two-way contracts as well. So even with Marquise there, with Jeff Doughton there, the Raptors could look to add another one. And I quickly want to mention before we talk, about our trivia question here, the Raptors constantly do this heading into the season, where they have a bunch of guys to bring into training camp and have them fight almost gladiator style for that last roster spot. So again, we'll see what happens with the Raptors. Very interesting. They moved on from Joe Wieskamp. Not surprising at all. But we'll see what moves the Raptors could look to make as well. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, I do have a trivia question for you today. And the trivia question for today is, which player led the Summer League in points per game? With the Summer League now over and just the finals today, which player led the Summer League, in points per game? Is it A, Orlando Robinson? Is it B, Jaden Hardy? Is it C, Jabari Smith Jr.? Or is it D, Keontae George? So whoever answers this trivia question correctly first in the comment section gets a shout out in my next video. So that will be it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for supporting this channel through your likes and comments. It is very much appreciated. And I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.